good. We good? Kathy, you good? Board members, everybody ready? Karen? Good evening. It's time to call our June 11th, 2024 Fort County Board of Education meeting to order. The first order of business we have tonight is our Pledge of Allegiance, and I'm going to ask Mrs. Contra to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We see William's face every time, but we hardly ever see Devon's smiling face. Thank you, Devon. Okay, we're down to approval of agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Okay, as we go down through, we have Callie Darty and Casey McCulty. They've been struck out. That will come back to us at a later date. My understanding is that they, or at least one of them, is off at a conference and could not be here. We have figures in for our finance. Down to employment, number one, Ronnie Nemeth as the substitute teacher has been struck from the agenda, and that will not come back to us because she was on the list that we approved last meeting and the meeting before, so she's already on that substitute list. We have a name for first grade teacher. We have a name for the pre-K special needs teacher at Fort County Primary Center, which tickled to death to see. Number 5 and number 6 have been struck. They'll come back to us at a later date. 7, 8, and 9 have also been struck off the agenda and come back to us at a later date. They'll repost. And then we have 2 names under special needs instructional bus aides, 2 names added in, Annette Easton and Samantha Delaney. Number 11 has been struck off. Number 12 and 13, Krista Good and Robin Hardbarger have been added. The motions were there, but the names have been added. Did I miss anything? Any questions, comments on the upgrades to the agenda? Hearing none, we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. We're down to recognitions. We're going to recognize our 23-24 retirees, and I'll turn it over to Mr. McCown.
So we have 3 retirees to honor this evening: Kathy Cumberledge, Dina Harrison, and Ronnie Jean Nemeth. And it has been my pleasure to work with all of these ladies in different capacities over the years. From being a teacher and colleague with them, to being middle school principal and working with Dina and Ronnie Jean, and then the past 4 years as superintendent. I've really come to appreciate Kathy and all that she does. She's got a witty sense of humor, and is just a joy to work with, and it's been my pleasure for the last 4 years to get to work with you. And we have kind of been celebrating all month at the board office and doing the countdown and serenading Kathy with a song every day. And we are joyful in celebrating her retirement with her, but it's kind of sad at the same time. Many of the board office folks have worked with her for many, many, many years, and her shoes are going to be difficult shoes to fill. So I'll let any of the other, Mr. Metz, you've worked with these folks for a long time, if you want to say a few words.
Yeah, well, I'll start with Dina. Most of you guys know Dina. My wife refers to Dina as my travel wife, okay? Because Dina and I truly have traveled half the globe, and here in about 31 days, we're going to cover the other half. Okay, we've always gone out towards Atlantic. This time we're going out the Pacific. But I remember when Dina was still in school, and I've known Dina since she was a baby, okay? I mean, baby. And I stopped at the store out in Middle Wales, and Dina was the clerk there, and she's coming to school. And recognized her, she recognized me, and we started talking. And I found out she was, going to school to be a teacher. And I remember I said to her, as soon as you finish, don't go to Wood County, don't go anywhere, come. We'll take care of you. And Dina come out, and started at the middle school with, I was her principal out there, and have been with Dina her whole career pretty well. And we will miss her. The kids will miss her. She had a special way with children. And then Kathy. Okay, Kathy was known as my work wife when I was in the board office. Okay, Kathy kept me straight, saved me many times from doing things that were really stupid, and always on top of it. Okay, Kathy was never ever afraid to speak truth, and I don't mean that I was a pal or anything, but that's the saying, speaking truth to power. And Kathy was never afraid to say, "Dean, that's not smart." Okay, I'm not sure I'd do that. Okay, and she was always just she filled in for Wilma and just took it right off, and we had good times. We always had a laugh about something. But we'll miss you, Kathy, and I know that the board office will miss you. You can go home now and speak truth to Chris, which I'm sure you probably already do. Already do. And Ronnie Jean's not here, but and I think Ronnie Jean's going to come back at a later date for us to recognize. But Ronnie Jean, when she first started teaching, was my student teacher at Newark. She was actually in my classroom at Newark when I was out at Newark. So Ronnie and I go way back. We not always agree with each other, but we go way back. And again, another one of those people that loved kids and just was, Ronnie is about kids and did just a phenomenal job for us, and we'll miss her with the group of kids that she worked with. But and I'm getting old enough that these guys are about the last of that group. There's not too many more. Karen Cummins, okay, there. But this is about the last of the group of teachers that actually, came in when I was a principal. And we're just all getting older, guys. But we appreciate everything you've done for the system. And I look back at our retired teachers back here, Ms. Shaker, Mr. Childers, and I could go back and tell stories on them too, but because they have both of us as a student when I was in high school. So, yeah. We're older. I heard Ms. Shaker said that, okay? I'm not she said we're older. But, no, thank you, ladies, for everything you've done for us.
Absolutely.
Anybody else? You're welcome.
Well, I don't know how many times Kathy's bailed me out. I feel like I'm working on a bond, cut the red wire or the blue wire. She's always been so patient to try to help me steer me clear on the computer. And really appreciate that. Really patient. Thank you, Kathy. All the great, wonderful work you do. I don't really know you that well, but appreciate the work that you do. Truly do.
I will say it has been wonderful to work with Kathy on this side of things as a board member. She's quick to respond anytime I, send her a question or, and keeps us updated on stuff we need to know about or trainings we need to go to or, whatever it is. Always been wonderful to deal with. I owe Dina a debt for traveling with my kids and taking them halfway around the world. I think it's still amazing. Anytime I mention that happens here at Worth County for our students, people are amazed. And that's a thank you to you as well, Mr. Metz. But the fact that you guys have done that for so long is amazing. It's wonderful. And the kids really get a lot from the travel. Obviously they get a lot here through Worth County schools, but the travel, that's just, that's a gift. And Ronnie, I don't know her as well. I haven't had a chance to work with her much in the capacity as a board member, but I've only heard good things, so I know she will be greatly missed as well.
Well, we have certificates for you, and Devonna is going to be our substitute picture taker for this evening, and we'll see if we can put some paper or some coverage in the paper.
said picture taker, he did not say photographer.
Are we ready? Oh, okay, all right. Okay.
You're supposed to take two.
Yeah.
And we'll try to get Ronnie Jean in the next meeting to, and give her due. Okay. Okay, we're down to, we're done there, okay, so we're down to information. First on the list is the annual attendance report. Mr. McKellar.
Mr. Smith has got the year-end attendance data for us this evening.
Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Benz. First thing we have listed here in graph form and numbers up above. Basically, I broke it down by month, and you can see the graph at in September. Primary center was at 95% attendance, middle school was 93.2, and the high school was at 92.4. The district was at 93.5. In October, it was at 92.9 at the primary center, middle school at 91.4, high school at 90.7, the district was at 91.6. In November, it was primary center was at 93, middle school 94, high school at 93.3, and the district at 93.4. In December, it was 86.8 at the primary center, 91.1 at the middle, high school was at 91.9, and the district at 90.2. In January, it was 89.1 at the primary center, 92.4 at middle, high school was at 92.3, district was at 91.4. In February, primary center was at 90, middle school 87.5, high school was at 90.5, and for the district was at 89.3. In March, 93.8 for the primary center, 93.3 for the middle school, 92.2 for the high school, and 93% district level. April was 93.9, 90.3 at the middle, 89.3 at the high school, 91.2 at the district level. May, 91.7 for the primary center, 91% at the middle school, high school was at 88.2, and district-wide was at 90.3. I have that as well down in graph form below there. Here's a graph showing district-wide attendance from month to month. As you can see, it fluctuates from a high of 93.5 in September to a low of 89.3 in February, but you can see it fluctuates basically, let's see, the most from 89.3 to 93.4, so you're looking at just over 4% throughout the year. As far as the school district attendance for the year, the district was at 91.7, high school was at 91.2, middle school was at 91.5, and the primary center at 92.4. And I remember a couple meetings, it's probably been 2 or 3 months ago, Mr. Metz asked me about that, and as it worked out, it fluctuated, came back up. Traditionally, the primary center is just a little higher than the other grades, just the nature of the age of the kids and some other factors, but they tend to be just a little bit higher than the other schools year to year, so. Okay, and district-wide, here's a comparison of our attendance rate in 2019 through 2020, we were 92.1. 2021 was 88.8. In 21-22 school year, we were at 88.1. 22-23 school year was at 90.4. And in 23-24 this year was at 91.7. So as you can see, as we came back out of the COVID, there's been going back up and increasing each year a little bit. So hopefully that trend continues. And the chronic absentee rate, the primary center was at 21.3 for this year. The middle school was at 25.9, and the high school was at 29.9, and district-wide it was at 25.6. And coincidentally, Mr. Stewart asked me before we were going to talk about this, the reason I didn't contrast this to last year's figures and such, we were discussing they're having some issues with Weebus and Zoom and some other factors, so I didn't want to give you inaccurate data comparing those, so that's why I didn't want to do that. But I can say this, I was telling Brent, in 21-22, district-wide, our chronic absentee rate was at 44%, at the high school was the worst, it was at 46. So you can see how much the high school has brought theirs down to 29.9, and district-wide, we've dropped by 18.4% roughly. So, and something else I want to add, the high school, part of our communities and schools was to reduce our chronic absentee rate by at least 2%, and we well exceeded that, but I do not want to give you inaccurate data as we speak. So, but we well exceeded that, and Mrs. Moore is actually going to give a presentation at the end of July. Some of the good work we've done, she's presenting at Morgantown at one of the conferences we have to get to, so she's really done a good job, and Mrs. Starkey, the administration, and all the staff has been very supportive of this, and I think we're going in the right direction. I'm confident in saying that. So we met our goal there, so I thought you'd be glad to hear that the chronic absenteeism, we met that goal. So something else, Mr. McCown, if you don't mind me saying something unrelated to attendance, but as you said earlier, I've worked with all three of these people in the past in different capacities. If you have, I've enjoyed working with all of them, and I'm going to miss Kathy especially because I've enjoyed the 10 years I've worked with her. She's been through some rough times with me and everybody else at the board office, and they jokingly call her my therapist. So she said after this evening she's going to probably hang her shingle up, Mr. McCown, so I thought I'd share that with you, but we'll all miss her. So
Yes, we will.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr.
Mr. Smith.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's good. So I am very pleased that we're able to get that chronic absenteeism down. What we're doing this year, keep doing that next year.
Okay.
That was really good.
Okay.
And then when we looked at some of the absenteeism, notice that at the end of the semester, students attend less.
Mhm.
So in December and in May, and then it goes back up. But I noticed there's a dip for all schools this year in February. Do we have any?
What might be the factors there?
What would, if there was something that we.
I don't think that was the
I think
illness.
it's flu and strep throat.
Yes, I believe so. I'd have to look, but I'm almost positive, like Mr. McCown said. I think that caused, because I think you as a group asked me about that, I believe, when I gave that presentation in February, because it did dip.
It
because
did,
of
yeah.
illness.
Now, it went back up, but.
Actually,
we
that's
see-
when Mr. Metz, I believe, asked me about the primary center was significantly lower, and I think that's, we addressed that it was illness, I believe, after we researched it, yes. Okay.
Thank you.
I'm sorry about that, I didn't mean to.
No, that's good.
You know,
In those classrooms, when one gets it, 10 of them get it, and they'll empty out a room pretty fast. We try to go back and look at our staff, and our staff probably has a dip from them
Yeah.
also.
I'm confident of that too. Anybody else have any questions? I'm sorry. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
Okay, we're down, this is something Mr. Stewart had asked, and, well, I think all of us have an interest in it, and that was volunteer chaperone policy. You have it there,
There's a
Mr.
hard
Stewart?
copy, because
Okay.
I hate reading big
What?
documents on the computers.
What I think that we'll do with this is just have a discussion here. There'll be no action or anything like that. This is probably something that we're gonna have a discussion a couple of times about. And see what, if anything, we would like to see changed within this policy. Cause I myself believe there are probably some things that we need to, beef up a little bit in it. Or not beef up, just clarify. I'm not sure anybody has a real clear picture when we talk about volunteer and chaperone, what they could be even one versus in a coach, or what's a volunteer coach, what's a chaperone that goes on a trip. So I think it's probably time to try to clean it up a little bit. Okay, that being said, I'll open it up to anybody who wants. I know Mr. Stewart had an interest in this. We'll open up to board members.
I'm just going over it now, it's been a while since I looked at this one to see what is
So
it.
I would ask if I may, I think one of the areas of contention is down with 3.10, that in the past, we have had quote-unquote lay coaches that would fill out a volunteer chaperone form. They would have the WVSSAC certification to coach, but they would not be paid by us. But since that time, the board has been very generous. They've added an assistant coach to every sport that wanted it. So the question, or I think one of the questions moving forward would be, do we want to just plain up do away with lay coaches? And if so, we could put language in here where a volunteer chaperone is not going to do any of the duties to displace and do any of the duties that would fall under a paid coach position.
What I have in my mind, and Brent, I know you have some strong feelings about this too. What I have in my mind is maybe somewhere in the middle of that, okay? That there are people, and I can think of people in basketball and volleyball particularly, that have a set of skills, okay? That can come in and work with the students that wrestling too, okay? Well, all of them, I guess, okay? That have a set of skills, whether it's how to do a takedown or how to spike ball, okay? And they're not our employees, they're not hired coaches, okay? But what it seems like that happens is they come in to do that certain set of skills, and they enjoy working with the kids so much that they just want to migrate into this coach, okay? That then is going to the games and sitting on the bench or sitting on the mat. And that's what I see needs to stop, okay? That we need, because we put an extra coach in, so there should be ample supervision. So when that person comes in to work on that one skill or those skills, they still need to be SSAC certified, because within that is all the head trauma and AED training and everything that they need, okay? But they're there for that. They're not there to sit on the bench. They're not there to go to games and help coach. They're there to do that one or two or three skills. And then, you know, they're not a volunteer coach. They're a skill coach. Splitting hairs probably here. But they shouldn't then migrate into, you know, sitting on the mat or sitting, you know, on the bench or whatever. They're not that paid coach that we put in that. So, with that being said, let's do it.
Well, there's two things that came up to me over the past year. And, one of them is those volunteer. And I think somewhere in here it says it's got to be a volunteer to get the signature of the administrator and the athletic director. Is that correct?
Yes.
So it should be the coach.
Okay.
Because, you know, I feel that we've had okay some people that I don't know if they have the okay to coach or not. The other thing is, and it's not that it's good or bad or whatever, but I think everybody, I don't know if everybody realizes, we've got one sport that has the boosters pays for our assistant coach. Is that correct? In volleyball?
That was correct. I don't know if it still is, but it was. Karen will be able to tell us.
Yes.
So, you know, that's got to be put in, is that in here anywhere? I mean, I haven't seen it, but that, you know, somebody else could be a paid coach, but not through the board.
Well, I tell you, my thought was when we put the extra coach in, okay, and the board was very generous to do that, that would do away with that, okay? But I think that's one of those things that just sort of slipped under the radar. Nobody really thought about. So we might, in this policy, if that's the will of the board, to say that, you know, sports will not pay for their own coach since, the board has put coaches in there. Cause that just throws it one more down the road.
I'm not saying whoever they paid, I can't say who it's been over the years or anything, but that was a question that threw at me, is that was one of them said, what about the coach that is being paid by the sport itself? I didn't know that being happened, so I couldn't even answer the question. Anyway, that's two of the things that concern me. I mean, we've addressed others that we have done in the previous meeting. But yeah, I think some of that should be in here. And yeah, it's one of those things where I don't know what's right or wrong, but definitely I think the coach ought to have a say in who's going to be a volunteer coach or assistant, however you want to label that. I don't know if we should call volunteer coaches. I think it should be like volunteer assistants.
I think there's a difference between what we as the board call an individual and what the students call an individual. If a student on the team wants to colloquially refer to him as coach, even though they're not in a paid position, I don't see a problem with that. If there's somebody that's always volunteering and they can help train on a particular skill set and the students call them coach, no issues, just as long as they know that they're in a volunteer status, they are not the coach, and the coach is in charge of the volunteers for that team.
Yes, absolutely.
Right, so, because a lot of volunteers, they may like the kids calling them coach, which is fine, there's no problem.
Well, no, I'm just saying in our language.
But for the board policy language, it shouldn't say, the only things that should say coach or assistant coach are people that the board hires.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
that,
they can even buy a t-shirt that says coach on it. And, you know, that's no problem, but administratively,
and for our policies, then we shouldn't call them coach, and we recognize that they're a volunteer, and, you know, if they're at the game and the kids call them coach when they're fine. As long as, like you said, the actual coach of that team approves of every volunteer that is, because we need to make sure that it's unified and the true coach has authority over the team.
absolutely. Did you get that down, Mr. McCown? I'd say get that down, Kathy, but tell her to work on this, Kathy's gonna be upset. Why can't you work that night?
I got one more meeting after this.
Now, for the coach that is being paid by the boosters, is there an issue with the boosters putting the money to the board and the board paying that position?
I think if memory serves, that we asked them, or Mr. Cheeseman asked them, if they wanted the board to pick up the cost of what they were paying, or if they just wanted to add an additional person, and I think it was their preference for them to add another person, but if the board wants to put a provision in there, not allowing that, that's the purview of the board.
Karen, how does that work, if you can tell us?
Well, the schools are not permitted to make payments that are related to payroll. So the history behind the coach that is paid by the boosters is that they wish to do that. They had the monies from which to do that with, because the booster monies is located at the school level. But schools cannot, they're not authorized entities to be making payroll transactions, and that most definitely is a payroll transaction. So all of those transactions go through the board, and that was the only way at that point in time that it could take place. So the board actually made the payment to the individual, and then it was invoiced back to the high school for them to reimburse us back with a check for the amount of the cost of the coach along with the fringes, because you don't just pay a coach a wage, you also got Social Security and workers' comp and that on top of as well. So all of that would be paid by the boosters back to the Board of Education.
So then, it would, board would then still pay the individual, just get transferred. Is that? It's just a transfer of funds
Yeah.
from the,
From the high school back to the Board of Education.
okay.
But it still feels like a liability issue if the board didn't actually
Good point.
employ this person.
Yeah, you know, a good part of the reason that I thought that we should go an extra coach, number one, it's good business for supervision, okay? And that's the biggest thing. But also was to get away from, this, you know, the boosters going out and having to raise money to pay a coach. I mean, there's other things they can do with that money, but still have that amount of coaches. So, you know, I'm sort of in the mindset that it's time to, Dan that's speaking, probably wanna hear about this, but, I'm of the mindset that we should do away with that and not allow the groups to hire their own coaches, even if it goes to the board, because, you know, that person isn't necessarily going through everything that we do when we hire a coach. And that's the reason that we put that extra coach in.
So I'm not sure when, I think this took place before I ever came on board, but I imagine that the board had to authorize this position whenever it happened, with the caveat that the salary for that comes from the high school itself and not the board. And if that position, we can go back and we can hunt through the minutes and we can find that, but if that is the case, I think we would have to wait to RIF transfer season. If the position's authorized by the board and it's got a person in it, we can't just abolish it. If it's vacant, we could, but if it's got a person in there that's been in there, I think it would have to go through the transfer process for us to RIF that position.
I would almost bet that within that it says, there's a caveat that says dependent upon funding. Okay, so if it's dependent on funding and the board says you can't use your funding for that, then that does away with it. Okay, I mean, you know, even though those are booster groups, the board still.
Well, the board's still paying the salary,
Yeah.
and the board is still making sure that everything that goes along with the salary, all the benefits are paid. So, the only thing is that this is just another source of funds that we transfer into the account and then move the money over. What's different than that than any other coach, other than the transfer of funds?
Well, this would be like an additional coach in addition to just
Yeah,
each
it's not
sport
bad.
having one extra assistant coach that you just spoke of. So they've always had.
So they've had more coaches than the other teams?
Yes.
Correct. Now, just as a side note at the last budget meeting that we just had, your extracurricular salary schedules that was on there, it was clearly delineated on there that, there is an assistant that is to be reimbursed by the boosters underneath the volleyball. So it is listed there, and it's been there for I don't know how many years.
Yeah, we might, Mr. McCown, might have to, and not that that's a bad thing, we might have to wait if we put it in the policy that no groups can do this after the end of this coming, the 24-25 school year. That also gives that, sport a chance to make some plans, okay? But after this coming up year, that will not happen anymore. And that probably is the most fair thing to do, since they're already planning on it for the coming up year. And then after that, that'll go away.
And that sport might need more coaches than other sports. And we can see the success of that program.
Yeah, but any one of our coaches are gonna tell us that they need more coaches. And some of, some of the coaches, some of the sports that are not revenue generated will never have that opportunity to bring that coach out their own funds on. They're not gonna generate the funds to do that.
So do
Or
we
have the boosters.
think that coach went through the same hiring process any other assistant coach went through?
Well, if
Or
memory memory serves me right, Karen has a better memory than I do right now. Although this is long-term memory, okay, so I'm probably okay with it. That when that all first come up, they come to the board and wanted to bring that, at that time, in mind being a second coach, okay, on board. That John wasn't bitter, I think, if memory serves me right, Karen, it was, you tell me.
Well, I'm 50, so the memory is not as good as it used to be. But I think initially, whenever we were approached with that, I believe we did get some legal, and that all jobs like that had to be posted, and then I think on the posting, we put reimbursed by the boosters, but I think it had to go through board action.
Yeah, but I'm not sure, that original person who took that job is no longer doing that job.
No, they are.
And I'm not sure it's ever reposted after that.
What?
That position is still filled.
It is currently. Do you know, was it reposted after the first person?
No, because I thought that same person's been in it all.
No,
No, it's
Okay.
changed.
no, I'll guarantee that.
All right,
Yeah, it
well then,
does.
I didn't, can't remember.
But I'm pretty sure
But
that,
that's something we can check.
yeah, we can look into it and see, but I was thinking that we did have an original posting for
I
it.
know we have an original.
Okay, so you can verify
Yeah.
that. Okay.
Yeah, but when that person decided they were no longer gonna do it, then another person stepped into it, I'm not sure it was ever reposted, they just took that over.
We can check and see.
I was not on the board during that time.
Yeah, I think that's the part that worries me a little bit, is that maybe we didn't handle it the same way we handle other ones. That
Make a note.
maybe-
Well, we're gonna have to dig through the archives.
Yeah.
Cause that's before my tenure.
But I do know
It
when
could
it
be
was
one of Kathy's
approached.
last jobs, okay?
Oh, boy. Research now.
But whenever they first came up with that idea, legal was sought with Bowles Rice, and you have to have a posting for which to put them in. You can't just put whoever in there.
Okay. So you'll check those things out for us, Mr.
We
Young, and bring
shall.
it back, and we'll continue this. And that'll allow, I know that we have public that have thoughts on this, and that'll give the public a chance to also give us their thoughts.
I do have a question. Karen, does the amount that is being paid, has this been the same every time? How's it come from there to us? Do we originally pay for it and they reimburse us? Or how is it, because I know some counties fairly local, that's really got in trouble with money coming in and, not being like, what it should be, like that. But, anyway, I just want the steps clear on what we can do, what we can't. You can't, outside interest, donate money for sports to pay extra on coach. That's going through my mind.
Yeah, with, this particular position, it is on the salary schedule, so it is consistent and equal pay with the other assistant coaches that are there. And there is no other, that I am aware of, reimbursement or any other type of payroll, compensation being paid to those individuals on top of what is stated on the salary schedule. And there should not be, so.
Well, and then maybe we need to address that part of it too, because, we don't have that problem here, somebody's rich enough to pay extra money, but, in other counties, that happens.
Well,
Yeah.
aren't all of our booster funds within the schools now?
Yes,
though?
all booster monies are within the school.
So, and there's an accounting of those booster funds every year with our audit, so it would be very difficult for those to be misappropriated in such a way, since all of the booster accounts are within our school, bank accounts.
It might be the will of the board to allow for every sport to hire if they have the money to do it. I mean, there's two ways to go about it. Either we can shut it down or we can say but regardless, it needs to go within the policy.
Are you insinuating that we put this out for public comment? Is that what you said?
No, not yet. No, there's nothing to put out, but we will eventually when we change this policy. It'll go up.
Okay.
No, I'm just saying that I'm sure there's people listening that have strong feelings about this.
Yeah.
And they can let us know what they're feeling. But no, right now, we're just within the board, developing, changing, maybe not change, discussing the policy, and then if we change it, that policy will go out like we put all our policies out, Mark.
Well, we went through all of this back in October.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, I think the biggest concern of all was, background checks.
Yeah.
That was the main for
That
us.
was my main concern, is that the safety of the kids with background
Yeah,
checks.
Right.
And from what I'm understanding, that this person had the same background checks as any other,
For them to do, any coach has got to do WBDE Form 39, you go through that process.
Yeah, originally, when this person first, for this original, this person was actually an assistant, a paid assistant coach for the sport. And then, things changed and they left the paid assistant, and then this came up to keep them within the program. Which was a good thing, they were good for the program.
yeah,
But I think we need to clean it up some.
I just hate to cut a coach from a successful program.
Yeah.
We're known statewide for,
Yeah,
that
but
kids enjoy and
Right.
have a lot of positive benefits.
on the other side of that, we're really not cutting a coach because we put another coach in. Smacks, I get it. So maybe the policy will come out and say that all sports can do this, okay? But this is the process you have to go through in order to do it. And we're really not addressing that within our policy.
If needed, and if the coach supports it and we can financially do it without putting an additional burden on taxpayers, then great.
I can remember back when my son wrestled, it was just Joe Burton and Matt Ashley, And then I see another team come out there that seemed rather unfair to me, because it seemed like every one of the kids had a personal trainer with them,
Dad, brother, whatever.
They just had an edge, and that's all you can say, they had an edge over everybody.
But
I'm still sore about it.
yeah, on that side, we have to take care of, and I get what you're saying, Mark. Because that's, you sit there and think, well, I know that person isn't got the certifications to do this, and they're the ones that when something happens, they're the ones that are gonna have the pony out for it. And I don't want to see us or our schools or administrators have to go through that. So, but, the other side of me, I'm not against allowing, I just think we need to put a process in place so that if each sport wants to do it, that this is what we have to do it.
Yeah, I think if we can follow the same process we do for all of our other assistant coaches, but they just wanna fund it, I don't have an issue with that. But
Because
it does
even-
have to be the same process.
Even through here tonight, we're not sure what that process is.
Yeah, exactly,
Right.
yeah.
The clarity of it was what, just when we started saying, we will add an extra, assistant coach, and people started asking me, okay, what about it takes? And, well, it's, there's addresses that, but, some things we need to check on to make sure. And some of the stuff I wasn't sure of. One of them was with the extra coach that I didn't know we had, but, I'm not saying anything wrong with it, I'm just saying that, it needs to be clear. And another thing we was talking about too, there's a lot of, when we do this, you gotta keep in mind that, in football, there's already 20 extra people down there on the sideline. You don't wanna limit that, but, whatever, it's just one of those things where we gotta keep in mind that the whole broad sports part of it. And, it just, when you think some of the liabilities or something might happen, this or that, it's just something we need to do. Because ultimately, the board is responsible. And, just one of the things, when people ask me questions, I'm not sure how clear this is. So that's one of the reasons I brought it up, get some clarity on what we want to do.
So you have your notes?
I have my notes.
Bring it back to us. Let's not do it next time. Let's do it the second meeting in July.
Can I
Is
just
that?
have one more question?
Yeah, no,
funded somehow. Should we have a whole separate policy that deals with that, or coaches, or whatever? I don't know if this is where it fits.
Yeah, it might fit into the coaching policy better than into volunteer schools policy.
Sorry. Give me another thing to look at, but I don't know if this is where it goes, so.
And hence is the issue, huh?
Yeah, well, I guess you have to all volunteer to pay, right?
Yeah.
There's, and that is the issue. Yeah. So let's take a look at this, second one in July. And that still gets us before we get into any sports. You guys good with that if we? Yeah.
But
Okay.
I do think though, before we get started with the new year, we need to have something straightened out. If it's the second week of July, the first of August, we're right in football.
First meeting, but not the special meeting.
Yeah.
We don't want to do it on the organizational meeting.
Right.
Yep, I can do that.
Okay. And everybody's good with that? Okay, so we are back onto our agenda, and we have no delegations this evening, so we're down to the agenda. Need a motion to approve the minutes of the May 28th, 2024 regular meeting.
So moved.
Any corrections, comments, concerns? Here none, we have a motion to approve the May 28th, 2024 regular meeting minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Need a motion to approve the payment of invoices in the amount of $274,844.48.
So moved.
Mr. McKenna.
Okay, for your consideration this evening, we have 6 runs of expenditures. The first on 5/29/2024 in the amount of $2,754.79. This is PEIA retiree insurance billings. The next on 5/31/2024 in the amount of $43,687.07. Noteworthy in this is Crook Brothers, $5,797.75 for produce. The West Virginia Board of Risk Insurance for $29,369 for a quarterly insurance payment. The next run on 6/7/2024 totaling $37,556.20. This is primarily utility payments. The next run on 6/10/2024 totaling $52,219.42. Noteworthy is Key Card for Gordon Foods and Harris Oil. Next run on 6/11/2024 totaling $111,584.72. We have West Banco for $70,000 for our QSAT payment, number 7, and West Virginia Department of Ed, $4,000 for virtual school billing. Then the final run also on 6/11/2024 totaling $27,042.28. Noteworthy of this is our field maintenance for football. And totaling all of these, we get $274,844.48.
Any questions? Here none, we have a motion to approve the payment of invoices in the amount of $274,844.48. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Down to budget supplements. Any motion to approve budget supplements in the amount of $74,935.
So moved.
Mr. McCallum.
So 2 budget supplements. The first in the amount of $71,440. This is an increase in the basic state aid amount. And the next in the amount of $3,495. This is national board reimbursement. These two total $74,935.
Questions? Here none, we have a motion to approve the budget supplements in the amount of $74,935. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Okay, we're down to budget transfers. Any motion to transfer $8? Lowest I've ever seen. Got a motion.
So moved.
Mr. McCown.
So we have a very significant budget transfer of exactly $8 for the increase in required staff development set aside from the.
Any
And I
questions?
got an email that they were looking for it too, so.
Probably costs more of your time, we probably paid you $100, transfer $8.
That's an expensive transfer.
Yeah. Any questions? Hearing none, we have a motion to approve the budget transfers in the amount of $8. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Okay, need a motion to approve the workman's compensation carrier for the 24-25 school year, and that will be Hartford Mutual, and they wish to have $26,181.
So moved.
Who's gonna take that one?
So, this was in your packet, it's got the quotes there from the different carriers, Travelers, Jacoba, and Hartford Mutual, and Hartford Mutual was the lowest premium, so if you've got specific questions, Mrs. Cummings could field them.
Any questions for Mrs. Cummings? Here none, we have a motion to approve workman's compensation carrier for 24-25 school year, and that will be Hartford Mutual, and that is in the amount of $26,181. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Okay, need a motion to approve the board's authorization for budget revision submissions through June 30th, 2024.
So moved.
Mr. Young?
So we do this at the end of each year, because the budgets have got to close out, and I'll kick things to Mrs. Cummings if she wants to elaborate on the need for this.
Well, we're one board meeting early in getting this done, but it's kind of crazy at the board office, so I told Kathy, go ahead and stick that on there. So basically, this would allow for any additional budget revisions after our June 25th is our next upcoming board meeting? Because between now and June 30th, I've got 8 payrolls to run, and so then after that, then I need to go in and clean up, and there's no way I can get it done by the 25th of June. So that'll allow me to clean up some lines, and then I'll bring all of that to you, in the July board meeting, but I have to submit them by June 30th, or else the state will not consider them in this fiscal year.
So we'll see anything.
You will see
Yes,
it, but it
we
won't
have.
be till July, but this will give me, go ahead and give me authorization to submit it on June 30 to
Is
the
this
State
within our
Department.
policy also?
It was not part of the policy. The part of the policy was basically just on, dispersing of checks prior to, board authorization for like discounts and, if we're gonna get a penalty or something of that nature, or utilities, things. It was basically just on the release of checks is all that the board policy addressed.
Is this something that in the future we might consider, but would it be kosher to put it in policy?
We do it each year, just because unless you move your board meeting date back closer to the end of June, I physically just can't get it done just because of the number of payrolls.
Something to think about. Anybody else? Okay, so we have a motion to approve the board authorization for budget revision submissions through June 30th, 2024. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. We're down to our routine business, personnel matters. First one is need a motion to approve the resignation of Malia Taylor as assistant varsity cheerleading coach working in high school, and that will be effective immediately.
So moved.
Mr. McCown.
So as you recall, Mrs. Taylor was the successful candidate for the head cheerleading positions. You know, she's tendering this letter to vacate that so that we can get it posted and hopefully filled.
She has all her SSAC stuff, right?
She has all of her SSAC stuff. She is still going through the process. She's about her Form 39 process through WBD. So she's got all of her SSAC. We're waiting for her Form 39 with WBD.
So I know they're starting some summer camps and stuff like that, and she won't be able to do it until that is complete.
So I think she's got one more thing to do. Shouldn't take very long. So she's almost completed that process.
Okay. Good deal. Any other questions? Here none, we have a motion to approve the resignation of Malia Taylor as assistant varsity cheerleading coach working in high school effective immediately. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Ayes have 2, need a motion to approve Gabrielle Beck as first grade teacher, Warwick County Primary Center, effective for the 24-25 school year.
So moved.
Commissioner Kent?
So she is fully certified, and they interviewed a couple people for this position, and they ended up hiring her in the first grade, and the other also good on pre-K, so they ended up interviewing 2 folks in first grade and hiring them both in different positions. So thrilled to get these positions at the primary center filled with certified people.
Questions? Hear none, we have a motion to approve Gabrielle Beck as first grade teacher, Warwick County Primary Center, effective for the 24-25 school year. All in favor say aye. Aye, opposed say nay. Ayes have it. We need a motion to approve Ashley Romine, Secretary 2, Accountant 2, Warwick County Primary Center, effective July 1, 2024, for the employment period of 220 days.
So moved.
Commissioner McCollum?
So Ashley has successfully completed the secretary test and the accounting test, and was the only qualified applicant from all of the applicants that applied, so she is the successful candidate for this position.
Questions? Hear none. We have a motion to approve Ashley Romine, Secretary 2, Accountant 2, Warwick County Primary Center, effective July 1, 2024, for employment period of 220 days. All in favor say aye. Aye, opposed say nay. Ayes have it. I need a motion to approve Susan Ellison as pre-K / special needs teacher, Warwick County Primary Center, effective for the 24-25 school year.
So moved.
Commissioner Kent?
Very happy to pick her up. She's an experienced and certified teacher from Drum County, so happy to bring her on board.
Absolutely. That job is short set out there. Although we've had,
All year.
not putting down the people that we've had in it, but it's nice to get a certified, veteran teacher. Any other questions? Hear none, we have a motion to approve Susan Ellison as pre-K / special needs teacher, Warwick County Primary Center, effective for the 24-25 school year. All in favor say aye. Aye, opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Okay, so we're going to move right down to number 10. There's 2 names there, and it's the will of the board, and we'll take them all, both of them in one motion. Any objections? Okay, need a motion to approve special needs supervisory / instructional / bus aid 2 positions effective June 12, 2024. And those names are Ned Easton and Samantha Delaney. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Any questions, comments? Hear none, we have a motion to approve the special needs / instructional / bus 2 positions effective June 12, 2024. And those people are Ned Easton and Samantha Delaney. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Okay, we're down to number 12. Need a motion to approve Krista Good as yearbook sponsor, Warwick County Middle School, effective for 24-25 school year.
So moved.
Any questions? Commissioner Kent?
Very happy that she is willing to take on that task, as it's not a very fun task. I'm just going to be honest.
It's not ugly all the time.
It is, so appreciate her picking that up.
And I think that was one of the jobs that Nina's probably
For
done
many,
for 20
many,
years.
many years.
Yes. So, yeah. Any other questions? Hear none, we have a motion to approve Krista Good as yearbook sponsor, Warwick County Middle School, effective for 24-25 school year. All in favor say aye. Aye, opposed say nay. Ayes have it. We're down to need a motion to approve Robin Harbarger as cook 3, Warwick County High School, effective for the 24-25 school year.
So moved.
Mr. McCown.
So we've had some shuffling around with cook positions, as you recall, and Robin was the most senior bidder on this vacant position in high school. So as you recall, under a transfer, we transferred her to the primary center. She's going to be very happy to be moving back to the high school. So happy to bring that to you.
So she came, I couldn't remember, she was custodian as well.
She's good.
Okay,
was a custodian, but she has been a cook here at the high school for
Okay,
the past.
fantastic.
And then when
People can be happy, we want them to be happy.
Yes, indeed.
If that can happen, that's good. Any other questions?
I think my husband would be happy with that.
Okay.
He was perfect.
We have a motion to approve Robin Harbarger's cook for Warren County High School effective for 24-25 school year. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Okay, so we are down to board concerns, so we'll start. Mrs. Yocum has one and just a teeny bit of meeting left with us. We'll start with Mrs. Yocum. Mr. Robert, Ms. Stewart, Ms. Sherman. And I don't
I
have
have
anything.
one item.
You go right ahead.
4-H is going on this week, and the extension service called, and wanted for us to extend an invitation to the board members to a dinner tomorrow at 5 p.m. at Camp Bar.
On Wednesday.
Yes,
Okay.
so they just called it 5 p.m. tomorrow.
Do you know, is it potluck or do we bring something or?
I don't believe that you need to bring it.
It's always a good time when you go out. Can't walk.
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear them. They're over there having a good time. Okay, with that being said, we appreciate the Retired School Employees Association providing the cookies and drinks for our retirees. We do appreciate that, ladies, for
Absolutely.
doing that. So with that being said,